صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. هنالك ابتلي المؤمنون وزلزلوا زلزالا شديدا. وإذ يقول المنافقون والذين في قلوبهم مرض ما وعدنا الله ورسوله إلا غرورا. وإذ قالت طائفة منهم يا أهل يثرب لا مقام لكم فارجعوا. ويستأذن فريق منهم النبي يقولون إن بيوتنا عورة وما هي بعورة إن يريدون إلا فرارا. ولو دخلت عليهم من أقطارها ثم سئلوا الفتنة لآتوها وما تلبثوا بها إلا يسيرا. ولقد كانوا عاهدوا الله من قبل لا يولون الأدبار وكان عهد الله مسؤولا. قل لن ينفعكم الفرار إن فررتم من الموت أو القتل وإذا لا تمتعون إلا قليلا. قل من ذا الذي يعصمكم من الله إن أراد بكم سوءا أو أراد بكم رحمة ولا يجدون لهم من دون الله وليا ولا نصيرا. قد يعلم الله المعوقين منكم والقائلين لإخوانهم هلم إلينا ولا يأتون البأس إلا قليلا. أشحة عليكم فإذا جاء الخوف رأيتهم ينظرون إليك تدور أعينهم كالذي يغشى عليه من الموت فإذا ذهب الخوف سلقوكم بألسنة حداد أشحة على الخير أولئك لم يؤمنوا فأحبط الله أعمالهم وكان ذلك على الله يسيرا. يحسبون الأحزاب لم يذهبوا وإن يأتي الأحزاب يودوا لو أنهم بادون في الأعراب يسألون عن أنبائكم ولو كانوا فيكم ما قاتلوا إلا قليلا. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
One more loud salawat for the brother, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. There's a sister that wants to give an announcement. If I can invite her up to the stage. Ruqayya.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Ruqayya Zambri and I'm doing a refugee help. Help us feed the orphans and poor and give them a shelter for them. So this is the donation box I have. I'm going to give it to the men after the ladies. This is all I'm going to talk about, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sister. One more loud salawat for the sister, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. My dear brothers and sisters, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And my condolences to you all and to the Imam of our time for the loss of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, for his martyrdom. Just a couple quick announcements. So first of all, I'd like to talk about the bring your own mug. That we would like you to bring your own mugs to all these events because styrofoam is very bad for our environment, and if we overuse styrofoam and create more waste, we're just going to create more problems for our world, and that wouldn't be a good thing. So please do bring your own mug. Also, we have a blanket drive from the SABA youth group. There are a couple of bins put around SABA. If you have any blankets that you want to give to the drive, please find these bins or ask someone in the youth group. It's for the homeless that during this season it's really cold. They need blankets, so please just find anything that you can to help out. Another quick announcement is that we also have some life counseling from Sheikh Hadi Yassin. So check that out if you need life counseling. And we're going to have Sheikh Aga Mehdi speaking for us tonight and for the next 10 days. So if everyone could please welcome him up with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I have one quick request for the brothers.
Alhamdulillah الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون وقت معدود ولا عجل ممدود فترى القلائق بقدرته ونشر الرياح برحمته اللهم أفز صلة سلواتك وسلامة تسليماتك على أفضل التعينات المفاضة من العماء رباني وآخر التنزلات المضافة إلى نوع الإنسان كان الله ولم يكن معه شيء ثاني محسي لعوالم حضرات القاس في وجوده وكل شيء أحسيناه في إمام المبين الرسول النبي المكي المدني الخرشي التحامي صاحب لواء الحمد ومقام المحمود أبي القاسم محمد الحميد صل على محمد أمه وخليفته من بعده وقائد الغر المحجلين ياسوب أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب اللهم صل على محمد وعلى ابنته الطاهرة الحوراء الإنسية الراضية المرضية الشفية يوم الجزاء فاطمة الزهراء سلام الله عليها. الله صل على محمد وعلى سبتي الرحمة وسيدي شباب أهل الجنة الحسن والحسين. اللهم صل على ابن علي وحجة القائم المنتظر المهدي. الله صل على محمد وآله. حججك على عبادك وعمنائك في بلادك. اللهم سهل منهجهم وعجل في فرجهم وجعلنا من محبيهم ومواليهم وشيعتهم. ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من يومنا هذا إلى قيام يوم الدين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. صل على محمد وآل محمد. I begin in the name of Allah, the most beneficent and most merciful. I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for providing us this tawfiq and inspiration that we are commemorating the martyrdom of the leaders of Salatu wa salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And the topic of our discussion is geared towards trying to trace the footsteps of Sayyid al-Shuhada, trying to trace the path through which led his followers, a path which leads to felicity, a path that leads to success, a path that guarantees seeking and attaining pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And therefore it is important that we remind ourselves, especially in these special nights when we are commemorating the martyrdom of Sayyid al-Shuhada. My dear brothers and sisters, I would like to thank the organizers. A lot of you know me. I had been in this area. Some of my best, spent in this area. I long to come here, inshallah, if Allah provides me with that tawfiq, inshallah. And these are also much, much bigger. So there is one, challenge where we find the world, or we find those who do not want the message of Tawheed to be spread, or instigating Islamophobia. On the other hand, you are on the cutting edge of technology. You are here in this area where everybody is so excited about, startups and, stock markets and world, or drive the society. Well, it can all be very, very engaging in the be running to the extent that we would not know why and where we are going and what we are really trying to seek from the life of this world. So we need to be very, very level-headed. We need to be very, very focused. And we need to know our exit strategy at every step of our life. In fact, when some of the brothers were talking about stocks, I remember being bit by stocks, being in this area. One of the keys of being a good stock strategist is to know when to exit out of the stock. You can get in any time, but if you don't know when to come out of it, that's where you get caught. And many, many people who felt very, very overconfident lost a lot of money on that. So likewise, even the life, the time that Allah has given us in this world, we need to have an exit strategy. How much is enough? How much is enough for us to be satisfied so we can pursue our spiritual aspirations? Or are we going to go into that rat race, over and over and over and over again, never being satiated to the extent that we come to the doorstep of our graves and realize that, what did I get? And if what I have attained and acquired all had to be, and what can be a better example than that of Steve Jobs? All of us now celebrate having Apple in our, hands. all kinds of Apple devices, and eventually he had to go. The world did not, lose anything. The world is moving forward. Yes, we still have the traces of his, I would not say ideas, because I belong to Unix world, and Unix world people used to hate Mac world, so I would not give him much credit for what he has done, because all of that was invented in Unix world. He only knew how to make it better and have a better, user interface for all those things. But the point I'm trying to make, my dear brothers and sisters, is in this age, and we're saying that what are you trying to accomplish? What is it that you want to do by remembering, well, they are, yes, there was a massacre, but even in today's world, aren't we seeing massacres? Aren't we seeing innocent kids, innocent children, innocent women being killed? Of course they are being killed. Why is it important to commemorate the martyrdom of Imam Hussein? This is a misconception which a secular world can introduce, especially in our young minds. And we need to know. And this would be done not from outside, it would be done from inside. It would be done by saying that, brother, we have Quran. Let us just pray, be good. If that is the idea, and then you are being told, brother, just read Quran, that is good enough. Of course, Quran is good enough. Of course, Quran is our exemplar. Quran is our mentor. The uswa that we get of the Holy Prophet comes from Quran. But even if Quran reminds us about the stories of the past, then what would we do? Is Quran only talking in current times when the Quran is addressing the Holy Prophet? Is Quran only expressing the situation in which the Prophet of Allah is, or Quran is recounting the story of Hazrat Adam, the Quran is recounting the story of Hazrat Nuh, the Quran is calling upon the story of Hazrat Ibrahim, the Quran is calling upon the stories of Hazrat Isa and Musa. Why is Quran? And not only that, we find that we are not only recounting as stories of the Holy Quran, we have as a form of ritual worship, emulate those who have done something in the past, even such as Hazrat Hajara, who was not a prophet, and she did run between Safa and Marwa, and we find Hujjaj today running between Safa and Marwa. Why? If Hazrat Ibrahim and Hazrat Ismail had made the Baytullah, the Kaaba, why are we circumambulating? Do any one of us believe that God resides in that house? None of us believe that, because God does not occupy space. We all know that. But why Quran is emphasizing, why Islam is emphasizing, why the ritual aspect of our religion ensures that we emulate those actions? Quran would come forward and say, because it is important that you learn, there is mau'izah, there is admonition, there is a reminder for you to know what is upright, what is amoral, and what is Allah wanting us from the life of this world. We need to have those examples. If we do not have those examples, we will not be able to move forward. If I take a startup example, all these startup companies, how do they come up with, do they have a product? No, they have a prototype, and then they will go and find investors. They don't make the whole product, they will just have a small prototype. They'll say, this is my idea, this is how it's going to work, and if you're willing to put in money, I can extend this idea and really make a product out of it. In the stories of the prophets, now the prophets were confronting. Who were the prophets confronting? Disbelievers. Even the prophet of our beloved messenger, who was he confronting? He was confronting kuffar of Quraysh. He was but even after had reformed the society, it did not take too long for the ummah to turn around. And the ummah turned around with the slogan of Hasbuna Kitab Allah. The book of Allah is enough. when the book of Allah itself claims that Quran is shifa'un wa rahmatun. Quran is shifa, is cure and mercy lil mu'mineen, for the believers. Whereas for Zalimeen, Quran says, La yazidu zalimina illa khasara. For Zalimeen, Quran says that they would not add, that nothing would add up to them except for their losses through Quran. So we find in today's society, there has to be those exemplars from within the ummah of Rasulullah who guarantees and who purifies our faith, because again there was an attempt was in the past in Islam after the 50 years of the Holy Prophet, or even after the death of the Holy Prophet, and if we do not have an exemplar who rises up and who stands up for the principles for which the Prophet of Allah stood, then what would be the result? We would have Islam without soul. Just like self, they were believers, they were worshippers, they used to perform Saum, they used to do all the ritual aspects of worship, and yet they were deviated. Does the ummah disagree today? Is there anybody in the ummah of Rasulullah who says Khawarij were on the path of righteousness? You will find the whole ummah, there would be an ijma, there will be a unanimous decision in the whole ummah of Rasulullah saying, no, Khawarij were wrong. Why? They were worshipping, they were praying, they were doing everything. But they did not had the soul of Islam in their manifestation of history for a person to be guided. It is like, you go now, some medicine for yourself and find a cure yourself, and it can be very, very dangerous. A cousin of my very close friend, he did not go to pharmacy school to study pharmacy. In India, you can have a business just like that. And over the period of time, he knew what medicine is for what reason. And then what happened, when he started getting severe headaches, he started treating himself until he found that he was, in a very last stage of a tumor that he will not be able to cure. And he passed away because of that. This guy was sitting in a pharmacy. Every day he is dealing with medicines, but he did not knew the science of this medicine. And what has happened after the Holy Prophet? This is what has happened after the Holy Prophet. That those who came after the Holy Prophet, they themselves conceded their lack of knowledge. They themselves said that, I am just like you. If I go and make any mistake, make sure that you get hold of me. I wish I was not a human being. Rather, I would have been a grass. This kind of leadership, if it emerges and tries to lead the ummah, where would the ummah go? The ummah would be disillusioned or deviated or under the clutches of shaitan. And all these three things have happened. And when Imam Hussein had to rise, the reason of Imam Hussein's uprising was to ensure that the Prophet of Allah's message is preserved so that we can follow the footsteps of the Holy Prophet. If Imam Hussein would not have risen, then there would not have been Islam that we are proud of today. We would not be able to say today that the Islam that was brought by the Holy Prophet is not the Islam that is being promoted. Kill innocent people. That is not the Islam that the Holy Prophet had brought. Now, where does this story start? Where does it begin? It begins in Syria in 10 years ago, or it begins in Karbala. Or you can go and trace it back all the way up to Saqifa. They say in Farsi there is a couplet which says that if you put one foundation, if the foundation stone is tilted, you can never create a straight wall. It will all go tilted. However much you lay bricks on top of it, the wall is going to be tilted. When we talk about fundamentals, even in secular world, whether it is banking industry, you call Wells Fargo, they will, all the, specialists will talk about going back to fundamentals. What are those fundamentals? Where are you going to seek those fundamentals? We find that in the plains of Medina, in the plains of the Muslim world, everybody was willing to comply with what Bani Umayyah had to say, except for the grandson of the Holy Prophet. And if we do not know the narrative for which Imam Hussein had stood up, we would not know the fundamentals to ensure and guarantee that we can stay upright on the path of Sirat al-Mustaqim. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So, my dear brothers and sisters, when we look into the verses of Holy Quran, Quran itself is narrating us these stories. Surah Hud, verse 120, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَكُلًّا نَقُصُّ الرُّسُلِ مَا نُثَبِّتُ بِهِ فُعَادَكَ وَجَاءَكَ فِي هَذِهِ الْحَقِّ وَمَوْعِزَةٌ وَذِكْرَى لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Quran is saying, whatever we relate to you of the accounts of the apostles are those by which we strengthen your heart. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, when we narrate you the stories of the prophets of the past, what are we trying to do to you, O Prophet? We strengthen your heart. We are strengthening your heart. Nusabbitu bihi fu'adaka. And what else? And there has come to you in these verses truth and mau'izah, advice and admonition for those who are faithful. So Quran is, narrating these accounts so that the heart of the Holy Prophet is strengthened. Quran is doing this. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is declaring this in the Holy Quran. So when we talk about our hearts to strengthen, to be steadfast on the path of Sirat al-Mustaqim, when we are confronted with challenges of the time, we do not shake, we do not concede, and we do not give up, and we do not follow the trend or follow the wave. We don't do that. We have the strength in our hearts to uphold those values. That is what the objective is by remembering Karbala. Now, in other places, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says how important this is. Ya Bani Adam, imma ya'tiyannakum rusulum minkum yakhussun. O children of Adam, if there come to you among yourselves recounting to you of my signs, of my ayat, فَمَنِ اتَّقَى وَأَصْلَحَ. And then those who are this order, nor will they grieve. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is clearly talking to children of Adam, and He's saying that I will ask my prophets to recount my signs. Now what are the signs that the prophet would recount? Inna safa wal marwa min sha'airillah. Verse of Holy Quran. That indeed Safa and Marwa, these are the signs of Allah. These are the symbols of Allah. What is Safa and Marwa? Safa and Marwa are two mountains which are close to the house of Allah, Khane Kaaba. And when we go and perform Umrah, there is for our Umrah or for our Hajj to come, we perform that sa'i between Safa and Marwa. These two mountains and Quran. It's just like any other mountain. Why Safa and Marwa is the sign of Allah? They are not even visible in Arabia. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is shy. That Hajira ran between these two mountains seeking water for her son and the Prophet of Allah, Hazrat Ibrahim, and now Safa and Marwa became so noble and so honored near the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if a wife of a prophet and a mother of a prophet does that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the land where the blood of not only the grandson of the Holy Prophet was spilled, but also of his family and also of his members and friends. And Karbala has a special status. There are many instances, there are many narrations. Inshallah, if I get a chance, I might share that with you. Amir al-Mu'mineen is returning from the Battle of Siffin, and there is a narration about it. How the Imam goes into the state of Manamia, and then he finds, and the companions see the Imam crying, and then Imam says, this is Karbala. This is the place where the blood of many prophets have been spilled, and also there is going to be an event that will spill the blood of the grandson of the Holy Prophet. The Quran is talking about Safa and Marwa, and Quran is ensuring that we honor Safa and Marwa. Allah is honoring Safa and Marwa. So if we are honoring Karbala, the earth which is so noble and so honored to have the blood of Imam Hussein spilled in that earth, there is cure in that. So these things, my dear brothers and sisters, I wanted to initiate this discussion and share with you that Quran is all about stories. But are these stories myths or mythological stories? One of the things that, it's my personal observation, imaginal world, where they are imagining, all kinds of objects which do not exist. And one of the reasons it could be, as some of our teachers say, that Quran came into a prose because nobody would take it as if it is some poetry which is some sort of a fiction. It is not fiction, it is truth. The stories that have been foretold are truth. When Quran is saying that Hazrat Maryam touched the date tree and shook it up so the dates started falling and she started eating, you go and try that in Arabia and see if you shake a date tree, the dates fall or not. They won't fall. But that was the miracle. And when the Quran is saying that Hazrat Isa in the cradle is saying that Inni Abdullah Ataniyal, Allah had granted me book and made me a prophet, is this some fiction or it's a true story? We believe it's on is to divine past. Which kind of past? The past that has that moral higher ground to guide mankind on, and Karbala is the extension of that. Salawat ala Muhammad wa alim. And Karbala is which can inspire every section of society. I do not fit into this. I am not part of this. Children are there taking part in it. Old people are there taking part in it. All slaves who have been freed taking part in it. Free men aspect of society teaches that person in that the commonality stood for the common core value that Imam Hussein stood for. And when I say this, what I mean, my dear brothers and sisters, is that you all are aware how there was, because they wanted to be on the right side of history. But did you find a single child running away from the side of Imam Hussein towards the side of the enemy saying, I'm too thirsty, I need water. I'm not part of this. I have done nothing. You will not find that. Even children believed in the mission of Imam Hussein. And where Imam Hussein was enduring the hardship of thirst, we find the children of Imam Hussein were also enduring the hardship of thirst. So my dear brothers and sisters, we need to take Karbala very, very seriously. And Karbala is not only there to listen, but to manifest in our current times. How do we walk the talk? when we are inspired by Imam Hussein, how do we ensure that we uphold those values? How inspired by Karbala, we are going to enforce those values in our lives and those whom we can influence. If we cannot do it, all we can do it is be very, very passive, then yes, there were 18,000 people who did the bayah on the hands of the ambassador of Imam Hussein. And when the test came, by the time of Salatul Isha, there was not a single person in there. Muslim ibn Aqil was left alone, which was thirsty of his blood. So if we want to be those whom we say, Ya laytani kuntu ma'akum fa'fuza ma'akum. We wished, Ya Abu Abdullah, that we were with you, so that we would attain the same felicity and success that you have attained. Do we really mean it? And if we mean it, how can we implement that in our lives? We need to learn that, inshallah, in these coming nights, my dear brothers and sisters. And I don't feel I have the capacity or the ability to convey that message, but the nights and the barakah and the blessings of the nights, I have the belief and iman that Allah would ensure that He would inspire us. The tragedy of Karbala would inspire us, directly inspire us, inshallah. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And to uphold Karbala, every Imam had struggled to uphold and ensure that we remember Karbala. Every Imam, from our fourth Imam, there are many, many narrations how he had, if somebody invited the fourth Imam in a marriage, we would find the Imam says, after the martyrdom of my father, I have not been attending festivities. However, if you commemorate the majlis of Sayyidul Shuhada, I would come. And that's why we see those traditions lying with us, my dear brothers and sisters. But today I want to share with you a tradition from our eighth Imam. This tradition says that the narrator is Rayyan bin Shabib, and he says, دخلت على الرضا عليه السلام في أول يوم من المحرم. And it was the first day. And I'm leaving some of the sections of the narration where the Imam says, ثم قال يا ابن شبيب شهر الذي كان أهل الجاهلية فيما مضى يحرمون فيه الظلم وقتال لحرمته. O Ibn Shabib, Muharram is the month that even the pagan Arabs, people of Jahiliyyah, they would not commit excesses or commit a war out of the sanctity of this month. فما عرفت هذه الأمة حرمة شهرها ولا حرمة نبيها. Then Imam Raza says that, but this ummah, O Ibn Shabib, did not honor the sanctity of this month, nor did they honor the sanctity of their prophet. لقد ختلوا في هذا الشهر ذريته وسبوا نساءه وانتهبوا سخله فلا غفر. This is the first. Ibn Shabib is mentioning this. يا ابن شبيب إن كنت باكيا لشيء فأبكي للحسين بن علي بن أبي طالب. يا ابن شبيب, if you want to die for Hussein ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib, فإنه ذبح كما يذبح الكبش وقتل معه من أهل بيته 18. Ibn Shabib, he was slaughtered like a sheep is slaughtered, and along with him 18 men from Bani Hashim were killed. ما لهم في العرض شبيحون ولخت بكت السماوات سبع والعرزون لختله. The Imam is reminding Ibn Shabib, Ibn Shabib, this is the month in which the grandson of the Holy Prophet was slaughtered like a sheep is slaughtered along with his family members. And those family members, there was none like them in this whole world. And upon them, the heavens cried upon them, upon their martyrdom. And then the Imam continues, وَلَقَدْ نَزَلَ إِلَى الْعَرْضِ مِنَ الْمَلَائِكَةِ. Ibn Shabib, when the Imam was undergoing this tragedy, there were 4,000 angels. They came down to help the Imam, waiting for his Khayyam to reappear. This is our Imam, my dear brothers and sisters. فَيَكُونُونَ مِنْ أَنصَارِهِ وَشِعَارُهُمْ يَا لَسَارَةِ الْحُسَيْنِ. Ansar of the Imam of our time. And their slogan is the revenge of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Inshallah, I will continue the narration, my dear brothers and sisters, in which the Imam had mentioned the importance, but also commemorate the martyrdom of the children of Muslim ibn Aqil, because tonight is dedicated for the martyrdom of the children of Muslim ibn Aqil. Muhammad and Ibrahim, these were the two children that Muslim ibn Aqil, they accompanied their father and they were in Kufa. And when Muslim ibn Aqil realized that there is no way, and when the jailer became aware that these are the children of Muslim ibn Aqil, he had a soft corner for Ahl al-Bayt, and he released them, and he said, "Oh children, go as far as possible you can go. I would not come behind you, but make sure that you escape the city, otherwise the army of Ibn Ziyad is going to come behind you." These children did not know where to go, and they came near a pond, and they were hiding there, only to find a servant coming to get water. Image of these children in the water, and realizes that these children are hiding there. She comes to them and says, "Let me help you. What is your problem?" And the children start crying, and they say, "O servant of Allah, we are the orphans of Muslim ibn Aqil. We do not have any helper in this city." And the servant says, "Don't worry, I will take it to my mistress, and she is the lover of Ahl al-Bayt, and she is going to take care of you." And so she does take them to the house of her mistress. And when the mistress comes to know that these are the orphans of Muslim ibn Aqil, she is also very compassionate on them, offers them food and makes them sit in a room and says that, "Be quiet as much as possible, because my husband is an enemy of Ahl al-Bayt." And so does the other brother, and the brothers wake up crying and telling each other, "We have seen our father inviting us back, and also grandfather Rasulullah." And the man and the husband of this woman hears the cries of these children, comes inside of the room, finds the sons of Muslim. What does he do, my dear brothers and sisters? He grabs both of them and wants to go and take and get a prize from Ibn Ziyad, but he wants to ensure that his award and his reward is greater. Saying this, he takes these children towards the river and slaughters them in the river, cuts their heads off, and takes the head to Ibn Ziyad, expecting reward from Ibn Ziyad. These were the innocent children. Even today, if you go to Karbala in Musayyab, we find Ibrahim and Muhammad. Their shrines are there. They were the first martyrs. Hussein had to not only mourn Muslim ibn Aqil, but also his children Muhammad and Ibrahim. سَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلَبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. We ask you, Allah, on account of the martyrdom of Sayyid al-Shuhada and his companions, his ashab, his ansar, O Allah, protect life, honor, property and dignity of believers wherever they are. O Allah, cure those who are sick in our community. O Allah, provide sustenance to those who are seeking sustenance in our community. O Allah, if the enemies of Islam are worthy of guidance, and humiliate them. O Allah, hasten the reappearance of your Hujjah and make us such that your Hujjah would be pleased with us. O Allah, forgive those who have passed away from our community. Matam Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein.
Ya Hussein.
Ya Hussein.
Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Hussein, don't come to Kufa. Don't come to Kufa. Don't come to Kufa. Hussein, don't come to Kufa. Don't come to Kufa. Don't come to Kufa. Hussein, don't come to Kufa. Don't come to Kufa. Don't come to Kufa. Hussein, don't come to Kufa. Don't come to Kufa. Don't come to Kufa. Hussein, don't come to Kufa. Don't come to Kufa. Don't come to Kufa. Hussein, don't come to Kufa. Don't come to Kufa. Everyone, don't come to Kufa. Hussein, don't come to Kufa. Don't come to Kufa. Don't come to Kufa. Hussein, don't come to Kufa. Don't come to Kufa. Kufa alone, roaming the windy streets of Kufa alone. Roams the only man of Kufa alone. In the dark cold streets of Kufa, his eyes full of grief, restless like the wind, with eyes that rain only affliction. He cries at Hussein, don't come to Kufa. These Kufians have no trace of shame. He cries at Hussein, don't come to Kufa. Kufians have no trace of shame. All those people who said we're